Hey there, everyone. Before we start the show, we here at Popcorn for Dinner want to give a big shout out to our good friend and illustrator, Kyle Kedzik, for helping us celebrate making it to 40 episodes with some brand new custom artwork, which is now up on all of our social media accounts. We love it. We hope you love it. And if you're looking for some new custom artwork for your business or project, you can look him up on Facebook at Kyle Kedzik, or even drop him a line at kylekedzik@gmail.com. That's KYLEKEDZUCH@gmail.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
True Crime Month is wrapping up here, the month of May. Mm-hmm. And as promised, we are bookending with something that it's strange to be able to find two like almost identical things. You
Right.
know what I mean? Where it's like, oh yeah, we're doing a true crime movie month. So we're bookending it with Jack Black, true story, weirdo, super nice guy, criminal guy. It's like, it's not even like one of them, he's an evil man who like murders people or something. It's like, no, they're both seemingly really nice and generous people who happen to get mixed up in some terrible stuff.
Yeah.
This decidedly less terrible than Bernie.
Yes.
Nobody died.
Yeah.
At least, well, we'll get to that. Everything was sort of, I hate to say like innocent, because obviously it's not like it's technically it's not, because committed crimes and broke the law and all that kind of stuff.
And he knew he was doing it.
Yeah. It was just this really, really weird thing where like almost all the way through the movie, I'm sitting there like, I feel for Jan and this whole debacle that he's gotten himself into and all that. And then I don't know why, probably just because he's not Jack Black, but when the credits cut to the real Polka King doing the polka rap and all that, and I got to look at him, and I was like, just looking at the guy, and I'm like, I don't feel as bad for you anymore. Like, now that you're not Jack Black, all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? You probably knew better.
Yeah.
You idiot. It's Jack Black that makes it so easy to side with this guy and be like, oh, wait, no, it's just a mistake. It's okay. So the movie that we're ending on is called The Polka King. It's a Netflix original. I believe it was 2017 was when it originally came out. So it's been a little while. Yeah. I remember watching a trailer for it ages ago, and I was just like, huh, it seems like a fun little thing. Like, it didn't grab me as like, oh, holy shit, we're going to watch that.
Yeah.
Which, like, even shit that I think that I still haven't watched yet. You know what I mean? Like, every time I go on Netflix and I go past The Irishman, I feel that pang of guilt of like, yeah, I know. I remember how excited I was for you and waiting, and then it came out and I was like, well, 4 hours is 4 hours, man. Yeah. So I still haven't. So this one was like on the radar, but not high priority. And then when this sort of happenstance came around of like, yeah, we'll do true crime movies, and it's like, oh, holy shit, the Polka King.
We can do 2 Jack Black movies.
Yeah, and literally first note, other than that, this really happened in Pennsylvania. Like, I just wrote that down because I was like, I like super upfront like that.
Yeah.
As long as it stays true.
Yeah.
If they say something like, this really happened, and then you get into the story and it's like, but we kind of fictionalized this, and this, and this, and it's like, well, then it didn't really happen here because none of this really happened.
Yeah.
It's stupid. But in this case, looking into it, a lot of it is true. In terms of things that happened, not necessarily in terms of the timeline when they happened.
Okay.
And there's a very specific one towards the end of the movie that sort of sullies the goodwill that the ending, or at least the sort of climax, had shown upon me. I was like, oh, that feels that actually, like, I feel almost good about this part, even though it's technically like everything crashing down. I was like, but I almost kind of feel good. And then you look at what really happened and how and when it happened, and you're like, oh, I see why they changed it. Doesn't seem quite as cute and fuzzy anymore. But we'll get to that. But the story is I already forgot his last name. Jan
So,
Luan.
Levon.
Right.
Yes. Jan Levon. His actual full last name is closer to Lewandowski.
Yeah, I saw it online. It gets spelled like Lewandowski if you pronounced it super American. But he is a Polish immigrant in Pennsylvania. I forget the name of it already. I feel like it was like Huxtable or something. I don't remember. It's some like small town in Pennsylvania, sort of near the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area.
Hexley?
He is essentially just like a super hardworking performer / store owner / delivery driver / like this dude he worked so fucking hard to do the stuff that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
At least as this movie portrays it. There is a documentary on Netflix called The Man Who Would Be Polka King. That is like the actual, like a documentary about it instead of a fictionalized movie. And not that I necessarily want to completely exclude the idea of like documentaries from the podcast, but it's a different beast.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing narrative. It's such a huge difference. So that may explain things better, but it's like, you take a look at this guy, how fucking hard he works for like almost nothing. He's got a wife, a kid, a mother-in-law that lives with him.
That like hates him.
That
essentially.
is the worst.
Jeez.
I could not stand Barb. She was absolutely the worst.
I wanted to punch Barb.
Yeah, there was one point where it was just flat out. I was like, I don't want to hear from you right now, Barb. I don't care what you think. It's like, I know that's like the point.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, get out of my movie. I don't care. This lady. But he's the I want to call him ringleader, but that's a bad way to put it. He's like the band leader of a polka band, and they're essentially like the most popular polka group in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, pretty much.
In the 90s, I believe, when this was going on. Late 80s, early 90s kind of deal. And then into the early 2000s, I know.
Yeah, because he was nominated in 95.
Right, okay, yeah. But so he's got all these fucking things that he's doing. He has the antique shop, or the Polish knickknack shop, where he would bring shit back from Poland when he went for trips.
Yeah.
He would bring it back to sell it there. He had his polka band that didn't necessarily make a shitload of money because of how extravagant he wanted it. Or, there's a dancing chicken. It's a dancing bear. Holy shit. Vanessa Bayer. I was so happy to see her. Like, you could just recognize from that fucking smile as soon as you saw that bear on screen. It's like, oh, it's Vanessa. Gotcha.
Yep.
Oh, she's fantastic. And, the whole rest of his band, all sorts of, saxophones and trombones and trumpets and drummer and blah, blah, blah.
Clarinet.
And I was going to say fucking Jason Schwartzman as Mickey on the clarinet, who is, from what I can tell, I don't think that was a real person or like an analog where it was like, and then one of the band members was his best buddy who hung around with him. It's like, I think they just added that for the sake of having, those characters be able to interact and like talk about stuff.
Yeah, help to progress the storyline a little bit.
Exactly. So that wasn't necessarily real, but I loved him in it nonetheless.
Oh yeah.
Like fucking Mickey Pizzazz. Gotta love that. Like, it's so earnest that it's like the thing he's wanted so badly was simply just to have a stage name. And something as like silly as that. It's like Mickey Pizzazz. I love it.
A pizzazzy name for a pizzazzy guy.
First note was just what a perfect role for Jack Black. Like, come on. And then the second note was just Jenny Slate. So happy to see Jenny Slate.
That was so great.
Completely, like, I'm sure I knew that she was in it from the trailer I watched ages ago, but like once I realized, I was like, oh, Polka King, we should watch that. I haven't looked at it at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was like, oh, and then this will happen and this will happen. I was just like, oh, we'll just sit and watch it and it'll unfold. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Jenny Slate. Oh, so happy to see
her.
her. Yeah. But this dude works so fucking hard for everything. And basically one of the first like big things that happens is that Mickey shows up to his job where he's delivering food. It's like, fuck, dude, you run this shop. You're the leader of this band. You tour all over the place. And also to like keep making money, you're just delivering food for this random place too, like this restaurant. Like, this dude works so fucking hard, and Barb giving him shit, like, straight from the top of the movie is like, fuck this lady, dude. Getting so into Jan and his life. Like, not that she was necessarily wrong. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Is like, especially towards the end, I was hating how right she was. And it seemed like they were for the wrong reasons, too. It's like she just had suspicions because she was a bitch.
Yeah.
And she hated him. And so anything that he would do that would look suspicious, she would have immediately assumed he was doing something. Just so happens
he was.
He was. Exactly. It didn't seem like she figured it out because she actually fucking knew anything. It seemed like she just fucking hated him and was looking for any excuse to, like, be suspicious. And it turns out, oh shit, yeah, she was right.
Yeah.
But not really right. Fuck you, Barb. Didn't want to give her any credit for that.
Yeah.
Because she sucked so much. He's got the band, and then they're going to quit on him.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically like, we're not making enough money. We're done here. Like, there's nothing we could do.
He, like, asked for more time. Said he, like, he had a plan or something, but it would get Cheryl off your dupa.
Yeah, that's right. He was, like, obviously Jack Black is Jack Black. So it's like you give him dialogue like half worthy of him and he'll still make it shine. He was just so convincing as this, like, sweet guy who could totally make you believe in him. And that was a huge thing. It never felt like he was tricking people or being really, like, nasty or duplicitous about it or, like, super manipulative. It was just that, like, he believed that he could pull it off and he made you believe that he could pull it off.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that a lot of it wound up being kind of shady. I was a little unsure throughout how much he realized he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at first it seemed like he might have been like, oh no, that was a mistake. Like, I didn't realize what was happening.
Yeah.
And then later, clearly, he had to have known what he was doing at that point.
Yeah.
But, you know, he essentially starts taking investments into just, like, him.
Yeah.
Essentially is what it seemed like.
It seemed like he was taking investments into, like, the company that had a storefront but was, like, a bigger brand name. The, like, Jan Levon gift company or gift shop company, whatever it was. Yeah,
but the thing of it, and that kind of confused me, is that it's like that was never like it's not like a registered business with, you know, the government or any kind of agencies or anything like that. It's really basically just
giving him money.
Yeah, giving him money.
Oh yeah.
So that he can fund all the things that he does.
Yeah.
And that, you know, straight up seems innocent enough.
Yeah.
I don't know
that
how
he didn't know or
that you couldn't do that sort of thing.
Yeah, especially because he's from Poland, so like he doesn't know financial laws and regulations of like U.S. businesses and stuff. Like not even just like personal finance, but like business finance.
Yeah, like I don't know shit about it, and I fucking live here. Like one of my notes, literally, I was just like, so he's getting people to invest in him? ? And then something tells me that's illegal. You know what I mean? It's like I wasn't even completely definitively like that's 100% illegal. Obviously, I was like, that must be what's wrong. Is that he can't do that, right? That's against the rules,
right?
Is it?
Yes, that is against the rules.
Yeah, clearly. But like, so there's this old couple, and I wrote their name down phonetically because I could never remember. It was like Krzyzewski. It was like super Polish, all sorts of letters. Letters all over the place. And like I assume that they are like the stand-in just for like all of the old people that he scammed. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't really sit and talk with any other old couple throughout the movie.
Yeah, not
all that much. Like it may be in a little montage or a quick little thing of showing like, oh, he's got this customer, that customer. But like whenever there's like we need to talk to Jan about something, it's always them.
Right.
So I doubt they really existed.
Yeah, they're just
like, they're the stand-in. Yeah, they're the stand-in for everybody. But they roll up, and it's like it's not something that I don't believe, you know, because it's like there's clearly examples of it all throughout the world. But I was just like, it's so hard to believe that these people just hand him over as much money as they do.
Right.
And I get that he tells them 12% interest.
Yeah.
Which is, that seems like a huge crazy part of it too. Is like, did he just pull that number out of nowhere? You know, like he had to have known that was unsustainable.
Yeah.
And
does he know what like bank interest rates are?
Yeah. Like, does he understand? I guess that was a huge question of mine, is like, at what point did he understand he was running a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah.
You know, because it seems like he kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I will.
At first, he absolutely fell into it.
Yeah. And
then Ned,
the
black guy.
Oh, I forget. I just call him JB Smoove. That's what I thought as soon as I was like, oh, hey, it's JB Smoove. And I didn't listen to his name for the rest of it because I was like, it's just him. It's cool.
Because he shows up and like tells him why what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah, just like a quick sort of interview with him. It's not even like, we're taking you down somewhere to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
He seems really well-meaning.
Yeah. That's when he realizes like, well, fuck. I now have, it was like over $200,000 that he had to come up with like in 3 days.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy. I just wrote $200,000. Really? Like that. How do you get that much money out of these people for investing in something so like nebulous? And you know, it's not even like you're going to invest in this company and they make this thing that will go into stores there and sell and the profits and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's literally, it's just like, I will do some music. Like, that's not a super sustainable thing. It's like, you can't depend on that. And his tchotchke shop, like, really? Are you investing $10,000 in this tchotchke shop?
Oh, don't forget about the Jan Levon vodka.
I love they called it Jan Levon flavored vodka. And I was like,
is it flavored like Jan Levon?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Or is it
I was
like his brand of flavored vodka?
Is my assumption, but it sounds weird when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. And he wants to do like a Polka TV show. Like, that's the big thing. That's what makes his story so much differently than anyone else, and why it feels so realistic for him to fall into this Ponzi scheme is like, it almost feels like he never at any point believes that he's ripping anybody off, because he's going to work to make the money to cover the differences. It's like he's offering 12% interest. Like, that's not sustainable. It's like, well, it will be if I work hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, that is his whole thing. He's not even sitting there like, well, if I get enough people to put their money in, I can spread it around long enough for everyone to get their interest payments while I get a huge bundle of money and then I can just bail. You know, it's like, that's not his plan at all.
His plan was always to have money available for those people.
Yeah, and he wanted, it was like he was sitting there thinking that he was sitting on like Facebook or something, you know, where it was like, you give me a little bit of money right now, and all these people giving me more money. All that money is going to developing something that will be so huge that everyone will get paid forever. Like, it'll be amazing. He just had so much belief in himself.
Yeah.
Which is so charming and sad. When you look at like how it all starts on like not even necessarily unraveling,
kind of collapsing on itself.
Yeah, there's not so much of like you know, some small thing that they didn't think of comes back to bite them in the ass moment.
Yeah.
It really just becomes that like he does a little bit of Ponzi scheming on accident. The SEC comes and tells him like, hey, you can't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah.
And he goes like, oh, holy crap, sorry. I did love that moment too. He's like, in Poland, some people do bribes. Do you do bribes?
Yeah.
No, we do not do bribes. Oh no, me neither. Like, of course not. That's crazy. But the SEC tells him you can't do that anymore. It's like, oh, okay, all right. But he's got all this money he's got to make back. So he's like, he essentially, I wrote it down with a question mark because I was like, I'm so fucking dumb with financial shit and like how these things, like exactly what's happening. Exactly. Where I'm just kind of like, I hope I get what's happening. I think I do. So essentially, and this is sort of a question to you.
Okay.
So essentially, he's got all that money he has to return. And it seems, because he tells the Krashevskis that he can't take investments anymore.
Right.
And then they write out a check for $50,000, and he's sitting there looking at it like, oh my God. So is what he's doing, is what his plan essentially like he's trying to get more investors and to pay off that original like investment debt or whatever that he has. Like, is that
that's kind of what it seemed like. Like that was part of the plan of like creating a new fake company name of American Polka Inc.
Yeah.
I'm sure like the original, unless he like, I mean, because he did just tell when the guy called back from IRS or
it was SEC, wasn't
SEC.
it? Right?
There you go. When he called to like check in, and Jan just told him that like,
oh yeah, I paid everyone back.
Yeah, paid everyone back. Like he only had like 6 names or something like that.
Oh yeah, which was a lie, right? Because he had a giant page full of them. That was something I was making sure I was catching. I was like, he is lying about that, right? Because at first I was like, oh, that actually doesn't sound so bad. How did he get to $200,000?
Yeah, no.
He's full of it.
He has like pages of investors. Yeah. So it seems like he may not have even, like he still kept that going on the side of like, they'll get their, you know, quote unquote interest back with money he's getting from his other Ponzi scheme.
Okay, so essentially he's not stopping anything.
Right.
He just like for a moment thinks about not doing it and then is like, well, I do have to pay them all back anyway. So if they still think it's on the level, then what's the harm? People will be getting their money and, you know, it'll all just keep running smoothly.
And then I make it big and then I pay everyone back. And
it's still good. He's still got that same vibe of like, just once I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
Like once the American dream comes true for me and I get all the money in the world that I've worked so fucking hard for to like to get there, like then I'll be able to pay everybody back. Everybody's happy. Nothing bad has to happen.
Yeah.
And you could tell that he like believes it. At least Jack Black's portrayal of him totally believes it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how the documentary portrays him. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know if they see it with more of a, you know, like a cynical eye of like, no, he knew he was starting a Ponzi scheme and wanted to, like, that was his whole plan. Like maybe that's how it went.
He didn't actually go to confession.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he didn't. That's a very cinematic trope. Like that's a very narrative movie trope to like get him into confessions. He says the bad things and gets the,
I mean,
you know, gets what he's feeling out in the open so the audience knows and we can move along.
I mean, Polish immigrants of that time are typically churchgoers.
And then like, cause you know, throughout it, he's playing shows with the polka band and they're doing great. He's handing over fat stacks to all of his bandmates, which also just like felt great. Like that line of his of feeling, it feels good to pay my musics what they are worth. You know, finally, like that felt really great of like, he, you know, that he appreciates these people.
Oh yeah.
Because he loves the music and loves performing, which again, it's why it's so great for Jack Black is you believe every one of those performances when he does them.
Oh yeah.
Because he just puts everything into it and those fucking dances he does while he's singing. Oh
and
man.
Like there's something I wrote in my notes. Like there's something so wholesome about polka music.
Really? There's no cynicism. It's never like there's nothing about it that's like ironic.
Yeah.
Or
it's just like folksy dance and bop along music.
Yeah, it's literally it's like everyone's having fun. Hey, like this is the best. You know, it's like the having fun polka. And so yeah, there's really something wholesome about then just about like the character and Jack Black playing him that makes everything just feel like even when he's doing things that are so clearly shady, like when
he goes to bribe to
I mean, well, here's a huge thing because it's like throughout the whole thing they're pretty much in a polka band and that's like his main thing. It's like he's got the tchotchke business where his wife works
selling amber from Poland.
Yeah, she's great at selling amber. And well, I guess then the mom kind of works. I don't know. Everyone's behind the counter at some point. It's just like this tiny little family tchotchke place. And clearly it's not the place that he wants to be. He wants to be on the road. He wants to be playing with the band and doing that kind of stuff and be famous for being the Polka King and all that kind of shit. So like all of that is going on. And that I feel like I missed something. Like in my head, I was like, I think I heard something earlier and completely disregarded it. And then now it came up and I was like, I'm shocked by this, even though like the movie told me about it. But like right after that, it's like, okay, he's got all this money. He's doubling down on his Ponzi scheme. He's just basically going to keep going, doing whatever he's doing. And since he's just this like charming, folksy Polish guy, if that part of the story is to be believed, that the SEC was just like, no, yeah, this guy's harmless.
Yeah.
And just left him alone to do all this shit.
They closed the case and that was it. They didn't get any more complaints about that first company.
Yeah.
So they figured it was fine.
Yeah, it's just so crazy that like 5 years goes by before any little hiccup even starts up. Like 5 years, he just kept going. Nobody turned around to check again. Like, hey, remember that guy?
Yeah.
They're just like, no, he's done, I guess. But it jumps, and all of a sudden, there's a tour company.
Yeah,
he's doing tours of Europe.
He goes on the like talk show. And is like talking about all the different things that are like now Jan Levon brand. It's like he wanted to be like the next Trump, essentially.
Yeah. That whole sequence I thought was like a dream sequence at first. When he was on the talk show and talking about his stuff, I was like, oh, it's like a dream of what he's going to have when he finally makes it big. And then I was like, no, that's real. Like, wait, what? He was actually that amount of famous? Wild.
Yeah.
Like, apparently. I thought it was going to be a lot lower, like him trying to achieve that. And it's like, well, he actually did achieve that.
Wow.
Like, that's okay.
He did start a travel company.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was like I was just wondering what they were doing. I was like, wait a minute, is he on tour? Like a band tour? And it's like, no, just tours of Europe. Like,
the like Pope special where you go to all the capitals and then go meet the Pope.
The deluxe Pope package.
Yeah.
That is apparently that's totally true. And one of the band members like said that he saw Jan with a briefcase full of money, and he saw him like leave the tour group, and nobody went with him, and nobody knows what happened, but they met the Pope. And it's like, well, fucking putting 2 and 2 together right there.
Yeah.
That whole sequence I thought was like just so off the wall. But yeah, so they go to they take a tour group of these old people to Italy, to Vatican City, to meet the Pope with absolutely no plan on how he was going to meet the Pope.
Nope.
That is so ballsy. Like, holy shit. Like, the idea of doing all of that, like, taking the money, making the plans, even, like, and then, like, getting on the plane, flying over there with these people.
And
like,
you still don't have any confirmation
you still
or
got
anything?
Nothing. Like, holy shit. That is wild. Like, even just telling someone, it's like, oh, dude, we're going to go to Italy and meet the Pope. Throw down, like, $20 into the pool and we'll get it done. Like, I would feel shitty about that. Where it's like, I don't actually have a plan to meet the Pope. Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But he's like, all of this fucking money he's taken from these people and made this huge giant trip out of it. And they get there and he's basically just going to give a briefcase of money to whoever could get him access to the Pope. And somehow it works. That was the craziest part.
He is hella charismatic.
Clearly. It's just, like in real life, it happened.
Yeah.
And so it still just blows my mind. Like, I mean, I get that, the Catholic Church has a price, obviously. Like, it's not like I'm sitting here like, the Catholic Church did something?
It wasn't
You're
a bribe. It was a donation.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say is like, it's there's ways to bribe them without bribing them.
Oh, yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily throw me. It's just like...
the fact that you can bribe someone to meet the Pope.
Exactly.
Like, he is by Christian standards... or Catholic standards, he is the holiest person on earth.
Yeah.
And you can bribe someone to meet him? Like, what?
Even if it's a fucking...
how?
Yeah, even if it's a bus full of people who, like, love him, still... You know what? Like, sometimes people who love people kill them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how much vetting was done in this case? Like, if literally... like. That I guess that's really the craziest part to me is like he comes up and he's like, hey, I got a bus full of people who want to meet the Pope. Here's a bunch of money. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm the Polka King.
Yeah. Here's a record. But like there's no way they could do enough vetting on the people in the group that they're going to meet, Yeah. Like, there's only so much you could do, especially then you couldn't like hop online and double check the backgrounds of these people. It's just like take fucking Jan Levon's word that nobody hears a psycho murderer.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, I'm sure they went through like a metal detector or something.
I hope.
But
at
like,
least.
yeah, it's like, you don't know that one of these people isn't just gonna just fucking like banshee shriek and run at the Pope and try to like strangle him, yeah, or pull him out a window with him or something, something fucking crazy like that. And so basically, my next question, because as the movie goes along, it's basically like he gets more and more investors. Mm-hmm. It's growing and growing and growing. All the money that he's making and all the different, like all the ways that he's expanding. He's making the band bigger. He hires a videographer to film everything, and then they're going to sell the tapes of that to the fans for even more money and all. It's just like huge enterprise. He wanted to build a polka empire.
Yes.
Are the words specifically used in the movie. This is about when Mickey loses his faith in him. Like, he realizes that Jan was lying this whole time. He never had a meeting with the Pope set up.
Yeah.
And it had a really great line in there that I really liked. Is like, Mickey's berating him and everything. And this is kind of where his viewpoint really comes into focus and made me realize, like, man, maybe he wasn't malicious in all of this. Is the line of, I hate reading it because, like, exactly as the line from the movie, because it's Jack Black playing a Polish guy whose grammar is incorrect.
Yeah.
And I feel like I sound like an asshole trying to read it back. But I did love just, I not liar, I believer. Mm-hmm. That really hammers it home. It's like, I'm not telling you that I'm going to do this and going to flake on you. Yeah. I'm telling you I'm going to do this and I believe I can do this.
Yeah.
And that kind of keeps Mickey on board.
Yeah, because then he says that, whatever Mickey believes.
Yeah, whatever he wants, he can make it happen. And so he wants to be Mickey Pizzazz.
And then he makes him Mickey
Pizzazz.
So
yeah.
And then the next concert, he has
the flip down shades. Oh my god, it really helps that it's Jason Schwartzman, because he is just he has that perfect blend of like super nerd dude and like actual kind of cool suave, like sort of, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird. He straddles that line perfectly.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's got some charisma and charm in there, while also being like really geeky and kind of like annoying in a way. I don't know. He's really fantastic. But yeah, him flipping those shades down before he rips a clarinet solo is just perfect. Fucking chef's kiss. Oh. That's when the 5 years thing comes up.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 years later, things maybe start happening. It's just like, fucking Christ, this went for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, I will 100% admit that I do not fully understand the exact, like, inner workings of a Ponzi scheme. Like, exactly how you have to set it up. Like, I get the whole concept. It's like you get people to invest, and then their interest is really coming from other people that are investing, and it's going to them, and really their money is just going to the person running the scheme, and they're just kind of keeping you in the loop enough. Yeah. Where it's like, you probably could never get your money back. Yeah. But they'll pay you those little stipends.
Yeah, they'll keep you baited.
Through. Exactly. So it's like, I get that. But it just seems fucking crazy to me that for 5 years there was never like a slowdown, you know what I mean, or like a period of time where you didn't get enough investors to cover everyone's fucking checks to get people to start questioning it. Like, Jesus, it ran like clockwork for 5 years,
or at least enough like clockwork. Like, I'm
sure they were old.
Yeah.
He probably could have gotten away with one where it's like, what? I sent you a check already. And they're like, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Like, whew. That is when he adds Bitsy Bear to the team. That's where I wrote down Bitsy Bear is amazing. Vanessa Bayer, holy shit. That was sort of when I realized, because I think it was Vic or Vince, I forget the name, the guy who was the videographer.
Vince.
I think that was who he was talking to, the guy who was like, hey, Jan, my kid,
I think so.
She's got a learning disorder, and we found a counselor that really works, but it's super expensive. And he just straight up, he's like, send the bill to me. I will pay all of it. Yeah. And he's just, and he's like, oh my God, Jan, that's amazing. And, earlier in the movie, Mickey tells someone that, Jan saved him, when he promised him that the band would like keep going and get big and be able to like sustain him and all of that. And it just made me realize it's sort of a lot like Bernie.
Yeah.
Where he's doing all this good with this money that he's technically there was a crime involved in obtaining it or using it or whatever. And it was like, God, there's so much more like in common with these movies than I would have imagined straight off the bat. But that's another thing that's sort of, not to say that somebody couldn't, fucking make donations to make themselves look like they're more altruistic than they really are simply because they have so much money. But in the case of this and that exact scene and everything, it's clearly just a guy who's like, I want to help you. You need help? I have the ability to help. Here you go. Even though it's like, technically you shouldn't have that money.
Yeah.
But once he has it, he's doing these nice things. And it's like, man, you really feel for him.
Yeah.
At that point too, like especially at that point, it's like you're not just, you know what I mean? It's not like those fucking War Dogs kids where they get money and they immediately blow it on bullshit and they act like jackasses.
Yeah, like his house didn't even change.
Yeah, he was still living in that same fucking sort of shithole, but like, definitely not a mansion.
Like Bernie.
Yeah.
He didn't
he didn't
treat
even pay
himself.
off his car or anything. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's like so like it's clear that he was believing in the company that he was illegally selling, promissory notes in. Yeah. Where it's like he was putting all the money towards it. Like it wasn't like he was taking everyone's money and putting it into his life and just kind of holding up a facade of a polka empire. It's like, no. The polka empire is the point here, people. Yeah. Like, I am completely serious about the polka empire.
You don't understand.
Yeah, really.
The empire must happen.
And I thought when Mickey comes in and he needs flyers that Jan had left for him, and Barb's the only one at the store, so she goes in the back and she sees all those filing cabinets that are like chained shut, whatever, and she's like, oh, super suspicious of that. I was like, I should have fucking guessed that Barb was going to be the fly in the ointment that did it. And I was surprised later when it's like, actually, no. Yeah. It's just that she was suspicious and that made her talk shit all the time. And, and by the end of it, she felt like vindicated. But she didn't do anything. No. Other than be an unsupportive bitch to her daughter. Yes. That was cruel. There was a lot of seeming cruelty in certain moments towards Marla. I mean, definitely towards Marla, but also from Marla at one point, much later. Yeah. But yeah, I felt so much for her. Especially like just that moment in the dry cleaners, which is apparently based on a real story that happened to, I think her name was Rhonda. Like the character is differently named than the actual wife, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But like she went into a cleaners like that and someone was talking about like, oh, I remember when you were just old Rhonda. Like I'm always Rhonda. I am Rhonda. Like, what are you talking about? Like
no, now you're Mrs. Jan Levon.
Like she... Because it's funny too, because I mean it's funny, especially because we haven't mentioned it at all. But like at that point, I had completely forgotten that her whole story was that she was in a beauty pageant and won it like against all odds. And then she was on a telethon, and that's where she met Junior Miss Pennsylvania. Yeah. And she was on the telethon, and that's where she met Jan and all that sort of stuff. I had completely forgotten that. Oh, yeah. When that started happening, when she started feeling shitty and everything, it's like, I used to be someone. I won a beauty pageant. And I was like, oh, holy shit, that's right, she did. I totally blanked on that. Like, oh, I'm sorry. This feels like it's kind of on me right now. So she wants to run for, it was Mrs. Pennsylvania, which I thought was weird. I was like, aren't those sorts of things normally Miss? Mrs. seems weird, like she's married to the state.
There's different levels. Mrs. is for the older married woman versus like the younger, usually not married 20s versus like late 30s to early 40s.
Gotcha. Yeah, because at first I was a little concerned for her. Like it was another one of those moments of like hating Barb being right, but like kind of feeling like she might have sort of been when she tells her that it's like a waste of time. Because I was like, look, Jenny Slate's beautiful and all. Yeah. But based on that, I was like, it seems like she's playing like someone who's probably in her 30s, later 30s, more so than someone who's like in their 20s. And I was like, if she's going to go into a beauty pageant against all these young ladies, like she's going to get creamed and it's going to be awful. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. And then when I saw the competition and they were all more like her age, I was like, oh,
It's
for
a mature
her.
It's a mature beauty.
Yeah, well, more so, it's just like, it's not that she's delusional.
Yeah.
And thinking like, I could go and win a beauty contest, against
like,
all these 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
You could
The
win in your age
competition will
group.
be, the competition will make sense. And yeah, it seems so shitty that Barb was just completely dismissive of it, especially because like at that point, she's suspicious of Jan, whatever. But it's like their life is clearly fine at this point in terms of like monetarily. There's no harm in it. It's like, okay, she goes and she loses because that's what you apparently probably would believe would happen because you're terrible and unsupportive, Barb.
Yeah.
Like, okay, big whoop. What does that fucking matter to you?
Encourage your daughter.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. All of the shit that she got her nose in, it was just like, what the fuck does this matter to you? That fight was uncomfortable between her and Jenny Slate, where she just kept coming back into the room. Like, they kept sniping at each other, and they kept coming back. And I was just like, oh my God, just end it already.
Please stop
Holy
fighting.
shit. Yeah,
Please stop
seriously.
fighting.
Or just cut to the next scene. Just right in the middle of the dialogue. I don't care. Just cut away from this. It's so terrible.
Oh, and then just after that was the like music video training montage sort of thing.
Yeah. I forget what the song was. It was like More Is Love or something like that.
My Love Is More.
Yeah, something like that. Jack Black like singing and performing, and Jenny Slate like jazzercising in super like 90s looking workout uniform.
Oh yeah.
And that was fucking hysterical. I think, well, wasn't it? It was like her training and then also like checks were like rolling in and out of frame to show you like, and he's making more money.
Yeah, well, that and like showing like what he was paying for her training and
that
her
cost a bunch. And all
yeah,
that.
dance lessons and all that stuff.
And that it's really sad to me the way that it works out, like that his undying, unconditional support of his wife and what she's doing is what fucking brings him down. There's the fucking Americana girl who is clearly gonna win because fucking of course, like on top of the whole thing kind of being silly to me, there's also just the silliness of like, oh, did that person start talking about how great America is and start a chant? Well, they're clearly gonna win because everyone's a fucking moron who's like, the chant girl. Chant girl. You know what I mean? It's so fucking lame, but you sit there and you're like, fuck, she's gonna win. And then he leaves in the middle of the performance, and you're like, fuck, he's gonna bribe her.
Yep.
Immediately you know what's coming, and then when she wins, you're like, oh, Jan, like, I know, like the look on Jenny's
romantic.
Yeah, like the look on Marla's face when she wins is amazing. But at the same time, you feel fucking awful because you know. Like if you're an astute viewer, you understand what just went down.
Yeah.
As soon as they called the blonde girl as the runner-up, I was like, Jan,
no,
I know what you did. Like I knew what was coming, and it's like you feel great for her, but you know that it's all fake. And then the fact that the scandal of that is what gets all of the fucking people pulling their money out of his business because they're like, we don't want to be associated with this because everyone knows that you did it. Like, the fact that it's not even a secret at all. It's not like she won under suspicious circumstances. It's literally like the judges said they were bribed. It's like, oh,
no,
well.
the judges said they didn't vote for her.
Oh, yeah.
It's what the
right, the newspaper article or whatever.
No, it was the talk show host again. They were on the late night show.
Yeah. That happens. Everyone wants to pull their money out, and obviously he does not have the money for everyone to pull their money out.
And so it crumbles.
Yeah, so it crumbles down, and this is where the timeline stuff starts getting goofy in terms of what happened in real life and what happened in the movie.
Okay.
So the crash. Over the course of the movie, his son becomes his trumpet player in his band, which was pretty adorable.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like that kid, too. He seemed like a kid who like really loved his dad. Like, you know, everything felt really wholesome about him. So he's on the tours with his dad, with the band, on the bus, all that stuff.
It was his first tour.
That was his first. Right. Okay. Right. And in the midst of it, bus crashes, kid's horribly injured. Which totally threw, like, I wrote, oh shit. Right then, I was like, that was all I wrote. I was just like, oh my God, I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah,
them sitting there bedside to the like comatose kid. I was like, oh wow, That's crazy.
Yeah. I like obviously when they like show the guy like starting to like nod off while he's driving the bus, I was like, oh God, there's gonna be an accident.
Yeah.
What the hell's happening now? Like, oh, someone's getting hurt. Like that's the only reason that they show it. Like someone's getting hurt.
But yeah, the timeline here, I honestly really loved the way that everything kind of worked out in the movie. It felt really it just felt so different from most of the other true crime movies, and especially the downfall moment normally feels shitty, really shitty. Where it's like, oh no, it's all coming down. You know, unless the people are really reprehensible and you're like, oh yeah, now they're going down. But for the character themselves, it's normally horrible. It's normally like, oh fucking God, no, this is the day that I was terrified of my whole life and it's finally happening, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, you know, he's losing it completely. Like he is that one line where he's just like, if he dies, I die. I kill myself. He feels so guilty for it. And obviously it's sort of a, you know, it's not really his fault that the kid was on. It's like, it is technically like he decided to make him the trumpet player and come on the trip and blah, blah, blah. But it's not his fault, but he feels that guilt. And it's obviously a stand-in for all the guilt he should have been feeling all these years for the scheme he's been running. But he's finally feeling all that guilt. And he just prays to God that, you know, just fucking save him. Like, just do whatever, punish me however you can.
Yeah.
Just let my boy live. Just don't punish him for that. And then right then the doors open and in comes JB Smoove and he's like, oh my God, it's him. Oh my God, my punishment's here. And he's so happy. That was amazing. He was so fucking excited to be going down for those financial crimes because he's like, oh, here it is. God's answering my prayer.
Yeah.
He's gonna save my boy. Like, I love how much he believed it that he told that to Marla.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's gonna be fine because I'm getting arrested. Like, I believe in it 100% that because I'm getting arrested, he's gonna be fine. This is the payment. Kid's gonna be fine. And he's so happy about it. And I was like, that is amazing in terms of like flipping that kind of scene on its head.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of feeling terrible and, you know, the whole world crumbles around him, he's like, this is it, what I've been waiting for.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then of course the kid like comes out of it while they're there and he's like, oh, look at him.
Yeah.
That seemed crazy. I was like, holy shit, everything is happening right now.
Yeah.
And then Mickey starts yelling at him and he's like, you're a liar, I knew it. You know, and
Barb was right.
yeah, and Barb is yelling and all that shit, and it's just like all of this stuff happening at once. And I was like, something tells me it didn't go down like this. Like, something tells me that not all of this stuff happened exactly in the same 2 minutes.
Yeah. even from bus crash to like being pulled out of the hospital room under arrest.
Yeah, it's like, I doubt that.
That was probably more than like 24 hours.
Yeah. And so, you know, like I was saying, like how much that makes him seem so likable and whatnot. And like where it's like, oh, he's going to be punished, but he takes the punishment willingly as payment, you know, or essentially just like as a trade, like, don't take my son and I'll do my time. It feels wholesome and shit. But in real life, it's just a little sketchier. For one, remember I said nobody dies. Trumpet player and a trombone player died in the crash, in the real crash. Still not Jan Levant's fault.
No.
But it just gives it all a harsher tone, so you kind of understand why they maybe didn't talk about it, but it is kind of just weird. It's like, oh no, yeah, I mean, 2 of your band members died, but okay, the kid was not killed, so that's right. And, you know, made a recovery and all that kind of stuff. Levant got arrested for all this shit in 2004.
Okay.
The bus crash happened in 2001. So there's a huge gap. But it's not just that, because that's not necessarily sketch. That's just like, oh, okay, they just shortened the timeline, whatever.
Yeah.
He might have been feeling all those years that his, you know, he deserved to get arrested to whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The sketch part was that he used the crash and sort of the like goodwill from folks about the fact that his son was in the crash and all that kind of stuff to like continue to push back on payments of like, oh, I couldn't possibly right now. I have all this to deal with, and
Mm-hmm.
all this, whatever. And he also said that a bunch of his like financial records got destroyed in the crash, and people were like, what?
Why
Like,
were
wait.
your financial records on tour with you?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like he used something that hurt his kid and killed those two bandmates to kind of keep his scam going. And that feels real sketch.
No, that's not very Jack Black.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I realized as I was reading it. I was like, yeah, I couldn't see Jack Black doing that.
Yeah.
They would have had to have gotten someone else to play that role. Because it was like, and it was just a little bit of a bummer. Like, not as much as War Dogs in terms of things happening or not happening in real life. But it was like, oh, that was such a wonderful moment, and like a great character thing of him like accepting his punishment to save his kid. And in real life, it was like kind of more using your kid's injury to escape your punishment.
Yeah.
It's a little the opposite of what the scene portrayed. I was like, oh, that stinks.
Yeah.
That sort of makes you feel differently about him. And then the last kind of chunk of the movie is that he goes to jail. And
5 years.
5 years. That was something apparently people were a little ticked off about.
Yeah,
when that happened.
That
people were like,
short.
wait a minute, what? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I felt the fucking same thing about those goddamn War Dogs guys. It seems like fraud. You get off fucking light, even though you're like probably destroying a lot of lives in the process and ripping off people who don't deserve to be ripped off. You rip off a big business, I'm on your side. Rip off a bunch of old people, that's less cool.
Yeah.
But he goes to jail, and completely true that he got his throat cut by by his cellmate or someone. I forget if it was technically a cellmate or if it was just somebody in the area or whatever. But it was odd to people that he got sent to a maximum security place.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, even whatever, crime is crime, but like still, it's like if you're not in that world,
yeah,
that seems fucked up to send you in there. It was like this dude was basically like a dope. He got arrested for being a dope.
Yeah.
In terms of knowing what is legal and illegal and like how he felt about it. So he wasn't even being mean. He was just kind of being stupid. Like he
wasn't malicious at all.
Yeah. So getting sent to a fucking maximum security place seems crazy.
Yeah.
But also because in the movie they seem to imply that it's him like humming polka music that gets his throat slashed.
Which I can totally see happening in a real, actual maximum security prison.
Yeah. Another moment that is a little bit more sketch, even though we know that it's not true, but it's one of those moments where like, yeah, that would make for a bad, like a bad moment in a movie like this. Apparently he got his throat cut for like because of a rumor that he was a child molester. Like that's what he was in for. And so it's like, we know that's not true. So it's not even a thing of like, we can't put it in the movie because people will think he's a child molester. It's like, no. Well, no. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to mention that.
Yeah,
it's a little bit like, that's not part of this story. We don't need to bring that into the whole picture. That's a little bit darker
of a crime. We're
leaving it at
lighthearted fraud.
Joyful polka fraud. But like, so that's something that where it's like, okay, fine. I didn't need to know that in this movie. Like reading about it afterwards was good enough. Like just leave it as that is. You didn't need to bring up molestation or anything. And then came Marla's cruelty. At least I felt like, and it's tough. Obviously, I don't understand it. It's not like something where it's like, I remember when my wife was in jail, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't have any actual real experience in the matter.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But it just seems so cruel to just like basically cut him off and dump him while he's in prison. Like, you have to know that it's like, I can only imagine that it's like, what gets you through the day? To be back with her, to get back with his, the love of his life. He called her, one of my favorite lines right from the beginning of the movie. He just says, "You are my wonderful." Like, I love that.
That's so adorable.
Yeah, like I felt like that was unnecessary. It's like, even if you truly believe it and plan it, don't tell him while he's in. You know what I mean? It's like fucking 2.5 years through his 5 years, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't have shit when I get out of here. He even says like, now it's official. I have lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, great, awesome. He's gonna walk back to his cell and fucking hang himself.
Yeah, seriously.
It seemed a little unnecessarily cruel, and it's like it very well may have happened, and obviously he made it through, so he's fine. Maybe people are just stronger than I would be. But it felt so like, oh come on, no, don't do this to him.
Just wait. Like what's the difference
now
if you just wait?
And even if it's like, hey, but like on the day that he gets out, you have like a voicemail ready for him or something where it's just like, by the way, I've moved out. It's, you know what I mean? Like, as much as that might suck, it's like, at least you made it through prison.
Yeah.
At least you got through prison and you didn't feel like everything was worthless. And now you're back and you're free and you can figure it out now in a better state of mind than you would if you were in jail.
Yeah. With your kid and your friend.
Yeah. And Mickey Pizzazz. And that polka rap is 100% real. Obviously they kind of cut into the footage of it later. And like, that sort of is the genesis of it, of like he was in jail and there were a bunch of dudes who would rap and he was a polka dude and he got all interested in it and was like, I want to do that, I want to mix it up, I want to make a polka rap, and he full on made a fucking polka rap. Like there's something brilliant about that, and super wholesome too. Where it's like he went to jail and he plans to pay everyone back, and he even takes the experience and tries to do something positive with it.
Yeah.
Like, I love the fact, I was like, he even sees the bright side of getting his throat cut.
Right.
He's like, now I have some what they call street cred.
Yeah. Prison cred.
Yeah, and he's like excited about that. It's like, you fucking got your throat cut.
Yeah, but now everyone's nice to me.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. I was like, this dude, I don't know how much the real guy was this wholesome, but fucking hell, I loved Jack Black's version of him. Not that I want to sit down for another like hour and go over like, so all the movies we did this month, this and this and this and this and this. But I will at least say, like, I feel like this movie, true crime, normally when you think of true crime, normally you get grisly. Normally things get real grisly. And I think it was wonderful the amount of stuff that we watched that wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like trying to keep it a little bit lighter so it's not just fucking murder every week. and starting and ending with these Jack Black movies, like I would recommend to everybody to watch both of them.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I like Bernie better just because I'd seen it more. And this was the first time I ever seen Polka King, but it's like something about it just spoke to me, Bernie. But they're just so fucking good.
Personally, between the two, since this month was my first viewing of both of them, I like the Polka King better. But I am of Slovak descent and Polish descent, so I might be a little biased towards polka.
It did. I mean, I loved the fact that like the score of the movie was polka. You know what I mean? Like all the background incidental music would have polka music, even if it was just like for a scene. Yeah, that I think that is going to wrap up True Crime Month here on Popcorn for Dinner. We have not necessarily figured out exactly what we're doing for next month. Kind of playing it by seat of our pants at this moment, just because fucking libraries are still closed. I swear to God, dude, it's gonna be an artifact of the times to go back and listen to all these episodes where at the end of it it's like, well, if only the fucking libraries were open, we'll remember exactly what was going on at that point in time. Like, seriously. Oh, fucking right, that was a quarantine.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out, and we'll be back next week with a new episode and a new theme for the month. But I think that's going to wrap it up here for Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
Now can we get gelato?